Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Identity Architects for 2022. If you're new to Identity Architects, this is the podcast that's dedicated to spotlighting individuals who are changing how data and identity can be used to power richer customer experiences. We're kicking 2022 off in a big way, as our Chief Operating Officer Lauren Wetzel had the opportunity to sit down with Michael Schuh, Vice President of Media Strategy at Kroger Precision Marketing. Before I hand it over to Lauren, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button to know when the next episode of Identity Architects drops. But without any further delay, I'll hand it over to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Identity Architects. I'm Lauren Wetzel, InfoSum's Chief Operating Officer, and I'm extremely excited to be joined by Michael Schuh, Vice President of Media Strategy at Kroger Precision Marketing. So, Michael, for anyone who's unfamiliar with you, and I really enjoyed learning more about your background and path to Kroger, could you please give us an intro to both yourself and also to Kroger Precision Marketing?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lauren, for having me. It's good to be here. I'm Michael Schuh. I lead media strategy for Kroger Precision Marketing. I've been with the company 8451, which is the data science arm of the Kroger company for almost 10 years now. And I started in the consulting world before that and bounced around in a couple of different areas. But I'm so excited, even after almost 10 years, to be with the Kroger company and the journey that we've been on with launching Kroger Precision Marketing about 4 years ago. The retail media business of Kroger has been a really interesting one and an exciting growth area for us. We're on a mission to make brand advertising more effective for advertisers, to close the loop between media exposure and store sales, and really drive toward real business outcomes for our advertising partners and for ultimately a good experience for our Kroger customers.
I love to meet and discuss any other recovering consultants, because I know we both in that field, so plenty we could discuss there. But to focus in a bit on this year, 2021 has just completely flown by. This has also been one of the busiest years for retailers across the board from a number of angles. So the international retail boom, supply chain challenges, and the launches and expansions of retail media networks. For you, Michael, what have been some of the biggest challenges that you and your team have had to overcome in 2021?
Oh man, so many challenges over the past year, and even as we continue into this year. Being at the intersection of digital media and retail is almost like two big disruptive industries sort of coming together at the same time. To hone in on a couple, we're still consider ourselves a new media company 4 years in, and so hiring, getting the right talent, getting the right workflows, maturing our work practices, prioritizing opportunities. There's just so much we could go after, and so many ways that our data and our science could influence brand advertising in a really positive way. Getting the right teams and structure in place and prioritizing all of that has been a real challenge, but a fun one to tackle. And then on the retail side, certainly, we're America's largest pure play grocer. We're in 35 states, and 1 in 2 U.S. households shop with us every year. And so we aren't stopping there. We're expanding our footprint. You've seen Kroger in the news probably a lot recently with the launch of different automated fulfillment centers, both in new markets for us as well as existing markets, to drive operational efficiencies in our pickup and delivery e-commerce businesses. And we've partnered and worked with many different people throughout that. So again, exciting, fun growth challenges, but challenges nonetheless as we work through these two dynamic industries of digital media and advertising and grocery retail.
That's really helpful and good to kind of get that lens, especially as we take a turn to 2022, and hopefully we're starting amidst what we all are experiencing in our personal lives, the pandemic and many other things. Hopefully see signs of light. One thing that you mentioned in terms of the size and scale of Kroger and therefore the influence, is obviously there comes with that influence, great responsibility. And so with an increased consumer and industry awareness surrounding data security and privacy, obviously a subject near and dear to our hearts at InfoSum, what do you think is the best way to address these matters? And really, who is responsible for educating the consumers on these topics?
Yeah, it's such a great and important question, and you're right. It's a new age in terms of how consumers view their data, how we as retailers and companies of any kind treat data security and privacy. In our minds, the digital marketing industry is really long overdue for more transparency around data collection practices and the value exchange with customers as part of that. We've really found that people are very willing and eager and happy to opt into first-party data relationships with us as a retailer if there's the right transparency in how we're using that data and what value a customer is getting in exchange. And so we've been really fortunate at Kroger to have a really well-established loyalty program for over 20 years, where it's almost second nature for customers who shop in our stores or online to use their loyalty card and scan it, capturing 96% of our in-store sales. And so in exchange for that data responsibility, we're providing our customers with price discounts, digital coupons, fuel points where they can get fuel off at the pump, and many other sort of benefits of being a Kroger customer, relevancy of what they see online when they engage with us digitally, and it's kept our customers really engaged, really loyal to Kroger, loyal to specific brands, and it allows us to reward them and provide the right exchange with them in exchange for that transparency and real value that they see in the relationship with their favorite grocer, Kroger.
I think that's so important. And I think as companies grapple with building up that first party relationship, it really is, in a lot of the examples that you just mentioned, it's that creation of a value exchange that companies need to be focused on. And it sounds like there's many different opportunities across those different touch points that you are deploying to differentiate yourself. And we've seen a lot of great examples of that. But to take a couple steps back, less than a decade ago, Amazon was really the only retail media network game in town. But over the past couple of years and the growth of the industry and these in-housing advertising arms really are creating value and revenue for their parent companies. In the past year alone, Albertsons, Lowe's, Dollar Tree, Best Buy, and Home Depot have all really just jumped in and launched and expanded their networks. There's a lot of enthusiasm around this, concept of retail media. But what really does an integrated retail media network and an ecosystem look like to you at Kroger?
Yeah, it's a great question, and a lot of players jumping in, a lot of noise, a lot of standardization, frankly, that needs to happen as brands think about their different investment choices, and a lot of just education and things that need to happen as data sources are really different across different retailers, the different practices, and the value of inventory at different points in the funnel, all interesting things to figure out. To us, our focus has always been people don't need more advertising. They need that advertising to work harder for them. So whether you're an advertiser or whether you're a customer doesn't want to see something irrelevant, and that's where they get annoyed. For an advertiser, if the customer doesn't see value in what you're showing them and the message you're putting in front of them, it's not going to drive a good return or a positive outcome, no matter what your objective is. And so, we find that our customers and our focus on the customer of getting food on the table for their family each week, or discovering healthy new snacks, looking up recipes, finding savings, or ways to shop easier and faster. If you think about our e-commerce offerings, we've really built Kroger Precision Marketing and the ecosystem and portfolio of advertising products that we have across our owned and operated properties, across our direct publisher relationships, and programmatically across the open web, to create the right access points for advertisers to use our data and our science and our measurement to improve the effectiveness of their advertising investments, to build solutions solutions, not just advertising, that helps them achieve the objectives and specific business goals. And at the end of the day, helps a customer do something that is going to be meaningful to them, to their family, as they engage with us as a major food retailer.
I love that you started and ended with the consumer, because as I think the easiest thing that we can relate to across industries, and again, whether you're coming from a traditional media background or a programmatic background, I think, at the heart of it, that's really where you should start and finish, which is, you said it really eloquently, just like about less about more ads and more about relevant ads and more about ads that are going to serve you and, your families. And I think that's incredibly important. And I wish a lot more companies would approach it that way. You just launched the Kroger Marketplace, the private marketplace, which is a self-service programmatic platform. What drove Kroger to make this type of investment to build this marketplace, and what also differentiates you from other marketplaces? Because I know we hear of many marketplaces kind of similar in trend to the launch of many retail media networks. It'd be great to get an understanding of that Kroger private marketplace.
Yeah, it was an exciting launch for us at the end of 2021, and really the product of a strategy that we put in place, a year or more ago, and a lot of hard work between our teams and our partners to make that happen. We are incredibly excited about our private marketplace, and it's a little bit different than a traditional private marketplace, which most people think of as exclusive inventory that a media platform or partner might provide and curate for a specific sort of brand to engage with. This is much more about the data and the science and the measurement that we bring and really feel like differentiates us as a platform. And it's the pairing of that data with whatever inventory a brand wants to pair it with, whether that's from one of the major SSPs or exchanges. And in the future, as we continue to move past sort of our MVP version, potentially direct with publishers and other areas as well. The real focus in how we've set it up for us is on creating the right access point for advertisers and not making them come to us. We want to meet advertisers where they are, in their preferred DSP, with their own buying tools, with their own brand safety, verification tools, tagging requirements, and other things. And so we are enabling advertisers to build custom audiences with us using our data and our science, pair that with whatever inventory they would like, and push that into their existing DSP. So in that way, we're DSP agnostic. We're not making them come to us, we're going to them and allowing them to use the power of our data to reduce wasted impressions, to extend reach and drive incremental reach, to drive the right flexibility with how folks can buy, and really allow advertisers to maintain control over those buying parameters and optimization parameters that they're used to and that are really important to them.
By powering that marketplace, you're in a unique position, because while you're helping brands reach those audiences and deliver value and drive efficiencies, you, as a part of Kroger, also have a really critical, two-way relationship with your customers, and brand loyalty is really that key to then building up, the oil within that marketplace and within that network and that system, which is that first-party relationship and that first-party data. There's obviously different challenges for different types of brands and retailers for reaching consumers and building that trust. But I'd love to dig a little bit into that notion of Kroger as a brand and brand loyalty with grocers. What are some of the issues that grocers face with building relationships when compared with, say, a more traditional retail brand?
Yeah, grocery is certainly quite a bit different in a number of respects, and I think it actually provides a number of different advantages, right? People shop for groceries every week, sometimes multiple times a week that they engage with us. We often see, especially even our e-commerce customers, will place one big e-commerce transaction, maybe once every 2 weeks, and then do some fill-in trips in store to pick up a few of the other things along the way. So that more frequent connection is actually an advantage for us and for brands who are looking to create loyalty with customers as well as they engage with us. It's really difficult for food brands, I feel like in many cases, to create a one-to-one relationship with customers, and a customer doesn't want to create relationships with 100 different products that they have in their basket every week, right? And so as a grocery retailer, we've built up that trust with customers, and there's different levels of that. There's different impacts to loyalty and engagement at different points in a customer's journey as they go through major life stages, as they figure out some other things. Grocery is certainly not as maybe not as sexy as some of the bigger other sort of retail industries out there, but in some ways there's some advantages, and that connection to customers that we have every week, sometimes every couple of days, creates this interesting sort of advantage and nuance on how we continue to drive loyalty with brands. And for brands specifically, it makes it so important to get that item in the basket one time, because it leads to so many repeat purchases, right? You might not buying a TV for the first time might not necessarily mean another transaction with that brand from a customer for years. But if you try a new bag of chips, for example, you might buy that every week for the next year. And so a different price point, obviously, but a different level of engagement and of connection point with a customer that you can have.
That's so true. I was actually thinking a lot about my own habits and sort of engagement with, my, grocery retailer of choice. And then also thinking back to long ago with a local grocery, and this notion of, what my mom in a suburb of Baltimore heavily relied on, which was the longtime loyalty card that I think we would pass, sister to sister, mom to daughter, anytime that you sort of entered into the grocery. And it's funny to even think back, way back when, you weren't submitting an email, you weren't tracking any of that. There was sort of no other connective tissue. And so you touched on a couple of these examples, but on that thread, how has Kroger adapted from that long time loyalty card that were, really one of the first touch points that so many shoppers had as that value exchange with their retailer, their grocer?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's in some ways it really has it has shifted a lot. In some ways it's still very much the same. We still have, many of our customers, myself included, still have a small loyalty card on their keychain, right? That you might scan at the POS system when you check out in store. But what Kroger's really done a really nice job of over the last, I'll say 5 to 10 years, and this enabled us to really, not that anybody was ready for the pandemic to hit and all the customer behavior changes that happened, it allowed us to really maximize a lot of the opportunity as customers did start to shop online more. We were very clear early on in our technical development about how we connected our loyalty card together with a customer's digital account for those who engage digitally with us or have the Kroger mobile app, and created a really seamless buying ecosystem for a customer as they engage with us. So the experience that you see on desktop is nearly exactly the same to what you see in the mobile app. Your experience at Kroger is the same as your experience at Fred Meyer in the Northwest, which is also part of the Kroger family of brands. And each of your different touch points as a customer, whether you're making a purchase in store or online, impacts one or the other. And so as you think about some of the different personalization sciences that actually drive recommendations on our site as the customer is searching and building their basket online, knowing what somebody purchased in store the week before is a really important signal to help the customer find what they might be looking for this week online, and vice versa. And so that really seamless connection, we see customers using their phone and mobile app in store much more frequently now to either navigate the store or download digital coupons as they walk the aisles, or use Kroger Pay at checkout for a touchless and contact-free checkout experience. that has been the real evolution that we've seen. And as Kroger continues to sort of expand their footprint, which I talked on a little bit earlier, especially into new markets where we're standing up automated fulfillment centers, and we'll have an exclusive, e-commerce delivery offering, allows us to bring that sort of same digital seamless ecosystem to those markets and engage with customers in much the same way.
I think the pandemic has really brought out confirmation of the notion of just do the hard work early and do it first in terms of innovation. I'm sure there's a lot of praise across the decisions to invest in technology and invest in technology that can scale just ahead to help tie in those connection points and make it that much easier to kind of adopt in the new normal during the pandemic. So that was super fascinating to hear how you guys went about it. My favorite part of our podcast, we have arrived, which is the quick fire questions, and we can get to know just a little bit more, as quick as you want to answer about you, Michael. So I'll start with, we talked a lot about advertising. So what is your earliest memory of advertising?
Oh gosh. I guess I'll stick with food. So my dad called me Mikey and still does sometimes, but as a kid, he certainly called me Mikey all the time. So I actually really distinctly remember the Quaker Life cereal kid, Mikey, who was on all the boxes and in the commercials, eating Life cereal, and always had like a big smile on his face. So I distinctly remember that. I think that came back up recently because I think Quaker Life went back to sort of a retro box for a time, and I saw it on the shelf, and of course I bought one out of nostalgia.
That's something I'm now going to do after this, which is immediately research where is Mikey now. What was your first job in either publishing or advertising, or I think we touched a little bit on this with consulting?
Yeah, I'm that odd person who actually has an engineering degree, and I'm now in advertising. It has a number of different advantages from an analytics standpoint, but my first job was in actually structural engineering. But I guess in the consulting world, I hit on publishing and advertising in a few different areas. Did some work in a few spots just on on go-to-market strategy and on user experience and a few different things. But really deliberately, it was when I joined Kroger here and started building some of the foundation for KPM, and it was neat to be part of the early foundation of building that team in that case, because it allowed me to wear many different hats when we were a much smaller team, and learn the ins and outs of the industry and work with some really cool people across media agencies and CPG brands.
On that thread, what do you love about what you do right now in the industry you're in?
Yeah, man, it's just always changing. It always keeps it so interesting. We talked earlier a little bit about the disruption between two key industries. There's so much to learn. There's so much to do. There's so many cool people that I work with, both here and with partners, and that keeps me really engaged and really excited about what we're doing.
As an industry, we're obsessed with the concept of identity, obviously, to power so many of the solutions you talked about. But how would you actually explain the term identity to a 10-year-old?
I've got 3 kids under 6, so I feel like this is good practice for me. For me, it's I think it's really what motivates and excites a person, and what describes them, is what makes them who they are. And in this industry, for sure, it's the culmination of your intent, your behavior, your signals in different areas that help somebody understand you and help us as a media platform engage with you in the best way to meet your needs and inspire you in a way that's going to resonate with your particular identity. What keeps you awake at night? Well, my 7-month-old right now, but at work, and we touched on this a little bit already, it's really just prioritization. It's all the things we could do. It's all the ways that our data and science could impact both customers and advertisers so positively, and sifting through and figuring out the right areas to go after with what are always sort of limited resources and constraints is what keeps me up.
And what gets you up in the morning or motivated in the morning?
Oh, just the people, my team, the people here, the people I work with, so many cool people in this industry, and so many people that are just fun to learn from and excited to sort of get up every day and learn something new.
And lastly, what do you want or need to say that you haven't already mentioned, or anything that you would like to add to our audience of identity architects?
Just, encourage everybody to to think differently about how we have done things in the past in this industry. There's so many changes happening, so many changes coming, especially related to identity. As you think about what the future of data-driven advertising looks like, how we solve for some of those challenges is going to be so important. And there's advertising gets a lot of negative press sometimes. There's a lot of good in advertising. There's a lot of things that we couldn't do without it. And how do we as an industry and as in my case, as a retailer, lead the way in designing what the future looks like here, and how that, again, back to the value exchange with consumers, what that looks like and how we most meet consumer needs.
Very, very well said. So this podcast is all about the individuals who have pioneered new ways to use data to deliver better customer experiences. And thank you so much for all of the great insight you shared about the amazing work that Kroger Precision Marketing has really started to lead the retail industry through a pandemic and on many other areas of innovation. When you look to people you admire in the industry, who would you nominate for us to interview in an upcoming episode?
Oh, it's a great question. First, thanks for having me, Lauren, and InfoSum. This has been great. It's been great to chat with you. I don't know if I'll name anybody specifically by name, but there's, like I said already, there's just so many cool people in this industry. I think the most the biggest thing I would say is to find the people who really truly keep this customer at the center of what they do. That's all about that is core to advertising and how we're gonna solve for many of the different identity challenges that exist. And not just saying that you're customer first, but designing identity and advertising solutions that are truly good for the customer, that truly demonstrate and clearly and transparently make it apparent what we are doing as advertisers, what their identity means, and what it helps unlock for them in terms of inspiration and value in their digital environment.
So it sounds like our next identity architects will have Michael Schuh from VP Kroger. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you for all the insights you provided to the Identity Architects audience. And for everyone listening in, please subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.